Hello, everyone, and welcome to our free December webinar. I'm so glad that you have joined me today, and I'm very excited to have our guest presenter, Ben Stein, CEO of Double, formerly Keeper, to talk to us about AI that works together and how we can automate our monthly bookkeeping workflows with Double, formerly Keeper. My presenter today, who I'm so happy that you're here, Ben. I was thinking back of how long have we known each other? Was it 2016, 2017, maybe when we first talked?
It goes way back. I won't try and count the days. I think they'll make me feel old. But suffice it to say, I am on top of everything that may or may not be on this slide here. I would like to add one other thing, which is I'm fully an acolyte of Veronica and the 5-Minute Bookkeeping Academy. It taught me many foundational bookkeeping concepts that I still use to this day when I run our month-end close.
And yes, and we have known each other for a few years, Ben, and you are the co-founder and CEO of Double, formerly Keeper. And yes, when we met, as I like to say that a Keeper then was a little baby app. So now you're a full-fledged adult app, but I'm glad to have been a little part of it and when I did own my accounting firm, which I did sell a year ago, but prior to that, we were using Double and it was just amazing. It was a game changer for us. But the most important thing I think, Ben, is that you are a unstoppable introvert.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I couldn't, I was just telling Veronica about this before we started recording. My unstoppable introvert badge is waiting to be put up there. I just moved into a new place, and so I haven't had a chance to arrange my background properly.
Yes, but yeah, most definitely a fellow introvert. So if we have any introverts, let us know in the chat and say hi to Ben. All right, so our sponsor is actually Double. So thank you for presenting the webinar and for being our sponsor.
Well, Veronica, thanks so much for the wonderful introduction, and it's always a pleasure to see you. So thank you, Veronica, and also thank you all so much, whether you're watching this live or recorded after the fact. It's truly a pleasure to be here telling you about Double, showing you many of our new features, or for those of you who are not familiar, showing you about what we do in the first place. So at a high level, what Double is, it's what we call a month-end close manager. Bookkeepers run the month-end close, and we help them do that. At its core, what that means we do is we are a suite of tools that wraps around the client's core accounting ledger. Predominantly, that's QuickBooks or Xero, although we just added support for Sage Intacct earlier this year, and we have other ledgers we're rolling out support for as well. And then once with that ledger connection, we're able to automate a lot of the work that you might be doing manually in QuickBooks or in QuickBooks plus spreadsheets or QuickBooks plus other apps today. All of that, in addition to that integration that helps you run a better month-end close, sits inside of this workflow system so that if you work with a team or you just need a better way of keeping track of the work you do yourself, you can also have a workflow system that tracks where you are with all your clients or all your non-client work. Okay. So with that, I'm going to dive into a high-level tour of a quick look at what it looks like to run a close in Double. We're going to walk through all of the features here. So this may not be a quick tour, but nonetheless, we'll try and sort of go in the order of what it looks like to run a close. So here we're on the close page. This is the first screen you'll see when you log into a client in Double, and a few things to sort of show on this screen. First is this high level, what I call the masthead, has all of your core client information. So you have sort of high level CRM data. You can add notes. You can have details. You can have client properties that are sort of like CRM style data that lives directly in Double. Below that, you have what we call the client communication tiles. Each one of these are all actually connected to the same core modal. When you communicate with your clients, all of the questions as you run your close will show up. So below the client comms, we have your closing and custom task sections. So this is where all of the work that you actually do lives. These two areas are divided up, so you can have your tasks that are just associated with the close, and then your tasks that are tied to that client. So here, for the client-specific tasks, this could be a one-off task. This could be a weekly or daily recurring task, like categorizing transactions in your bank feed, or this could be maybe a biweekly task, like running payroll. And then below that, you have all of your closing tasks. These are all of the tasks you need to do to run the month-end close. Some of these are just pure workflow. So you have tasks with sign-offs and assignees and checklists, and others are actually tied directly to your close and the data in your close so that we can automate the work that goes on inside of that task. So as we go through those, I'll walk through a few examples here. The account rec section exists as both a checklist for the accounts that you need to reconcile, and then also a place where you can store all of your supporting documentation and backup. So we show the balance of the account at the end of the month. When you reconcile it, we timestamp that account balance so that you can see that if there are ever changes after you reconcile, you'll get an alert about those. And then you can also upload files here. So any file where you want to upload the, for example, statement or the reconciliation report, those can both all live right here. And then as you're running your month-end review, or you want to be able to have all your files in an organized place, this is a great place for that as well. After the account recs section, you have our month-end review. Each one of the sections in this review are designed to show you potential errors in your categorization process, your close process, so that you can review and correct them before you actually deliver month-end reporting. So here, for example, we have the expense inconsistency report. This looks at all of your transactions you categorized in the last month, cross-references them against all of your other historical categorization decisions, and then flags any potential discrepancies. So here, for example, we've got Zoom. We can see Zoom is categorized to office supplies. And if we click for more information, we can see typically Zoom is categorized to software. So Double's going to flag that for your attention. And if you want to make a change, you can just click in the cell you want to make the change and then type the change you want to make and hit enter. It'll instantly sync that change back to the ledger. One thing to note is that sync is instant. So you can see that transaction shows up in green. That means that's been already synced to QuickBooks. And you can even click this date right here, and it will take you directly to that transaction as well. But of course, some things that you have show up here are not things that you can necessarily fix. They're things you need to get your input from your clients about. So here, that's your uncategorized transactions or anything else. And so here we've got a transaction. And if we want to get our client's input on it, we can just click this Ask Client button, type a question, or use a template question. So here, for example, we can say, what is this for? Or what is this for? And if it's a new vendor, can you send us their W-9? And when you add this to the portal, this goes in the portal, which is a place where your clients can go to answer your questions, ask any questions, and generally speaking, get everything they need from there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and actually toggle over to the portal and show a little bit more about what that looks like. So the first thing I want to note is this portal experience is completely custom branded. This is a great way to make the portal feel like an extension of your firm's services rather than another app you're just trying to convince clients to use. So here it lives behind your own URL. It has your logo, your color scheme, and then Double also integrates directly to your email. So any emails you send about questions in the portal or log into the portal, all of that is custom branded behind your own domain. And then in the portal, the clients can see everything that they need from you and everything that you need from them. So on the things that you need from them, those go into their action required tray. And so here they can see they've got some questions that you've asked them about. You can go and the client can go in and answer these questions. And once they answer them, you'll get notified. Or if you work with a team, whoever you've assigned to this client will get notified so that you can take action accordingly. The clients can also see any data you have on this transaction. So if there's a receipt already on the transaction in QuickBooks or in Double, they'll be able to pull that up and see that here as well. But transaction questions are not the only thing you need. Sometimes you need things like a regular monthly statement or just a random one-off question. Those go here in your non-transaction questions as well. So the clients can see those here too. You can even set these up to recur on a monthly basis. So every month on the 5th of the month, when the chase statement gets published, you can set up an automated email that goes out, letting the clients know that you need this document. You can also post this question automatically to the portal. And then when the client uploads their file, you'll get that document and you can proceed with the close. Lastly, on the communication side of things, if the clients have any questions for you, they can ask those here as well. They can ask a question and then you'll get notified so you can action accordingly. And these conversation threads work very similar to a chat style conversation. So you can have a back and forth here and get to the bottom of something. It's not just a one-off question. Okay, there's a couple other things in the portal, but the first thing I want to talk about before I show those is how do your clients get notified about things in the portal? There's a few different options. We're going to toggle back to double and click to our portal, and hopefully the page doesn't crash there. Okay, so first things first, you can manually email your client. So you can click this message client button and email your client. We have pre-built templates that you can use. You can also build your own templates or customize ours. And then in addition, we have the same capabilities, but by text. You can email or text your client, depending on which means you think they might be more responsive. And then when they get sent that link, they'll get a link to the portal. And the portal is where the links are what are called magic links. So instead of needing to set up a username or password, they can just click a link in their email and get automatically taken in the portal to start answering your questions. So it's a great way to reduce the friction associated with getting your clients to give you a response. And last but not least, you can set up automated reminders, both by email or by text. And your clients can basically, if they haven't gone in, they'll get an email or text on a pre-specified day. So that could be like Mondays and Thursdays, for example. And then only if they have any unanswered questions, they'll get that email. So they get a reminder to go in and answer their questions. The portal itself, last thing I'll mention, is available on web app, on mobile app. So whatever means is most convenient for your client is you have that as an option to communicate with them. And then last but not least, you can also deliver financials directly through Double. I'm going to actually save that bit for the end, but I just wanted to mention that as another thing you can do in the portal. So truly everything that your clients need, they can access through the portal, and you can give to them. Okay, so let's come back to Double. We've talked about what you can do with asking your clients about transaction questions. We've talked about a review report in the expense and consistency report, the uncategorized transactions. Let's talk about a couple more review reports as well. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the payee entity review. This is a series of reviews related to vendors, customers, and accounts and chart accounts, as opposed to the former transaction review, which is focused more on transactions. And I'll show a very popular and very timely report here, which is our Prepared 1099s report. What this report does is it pulls together all of your vendors by spend, sorts them descending order of spend, excludes any vendors under the IRS thresholds, which today are 600, but next year going up. And so that has already been built in place. It also excludes any vendors, any spend that's on a credit card, and it excludes any spend that you have identified as being in non-reportable accounts. And so what you're left with is a list of vendors, how much you've spent with them, and then all of their information that you do or don't have with them in QuickBooks. Important to note, all of this data is read-write with QuickBooks. So if you change their name, their legal name, their email, their tax ID, all of that will sync that change back to the QuickBooks as well. And if you have a vendor that you've noticed you don't actually have all the information, so here with this vendor Woodward, we're missing their address, we're missing their tax ID, we can actually request information directly from either from our client, if we put a new question in the portal, or directly from the vendor themselves. So here we can email the vendor, we can CC the clients if we want to, and then when we create this request, that will both kick off an email, and it will let you access this link. So this is a link that the vendors will see when they go to the portal, when they access that email. Basically, that will give them the option to upload a W-9 if they have one. And if they don't, they have this option to click here to fill out a new W-9, where they can walk through a form filling experience, e-sign that, and you get a filled signed W-9 for your records. So it's a great way to make sure that you get the W-9s that you need. And one of the other really nice things about this report and this vendor request process is it's something you can do all year round, not just something that you need to wait until October, November, December, January for. So by doing that, one, you get the request when it is most relevant. So when your clients remember who the vendor is, when the vendor remembers who the client is, and two, it sort of takes this 12 months worth of, it takes this big, painful amount of work in December and January and spreads it out over 12 months. So it's less of a spike. So back here to the Prepared 1099s report, mention maybe one more thing here, which is if you are curious where the year-to-date spend totals come from, you can always click this arrow over here on the left, and that will show you all of the transactions and how they make up that total amount. All right. And I will show now one more report here. I'll show this time one from the final review here in the P&L. This is where you can see what we call the interactive P&L. This is like the standard P&L, but with a few really nice features added on to make it easier to run a month-end review. First things first, we automatically flag any income or expense accounts that change significantly from their historical trends. So it makes it really easy to see which accounts you want to actually drill down into and investigate further. And second, when you do want to do that investigation, you can click into the account and then we'll show you all of your vendors within that account sorted in descending order of spend. So you can easily, and we'll run that same flux analysis on the vendors as well. So you can easily see, oh, it looks like the change in spend with software is almost all attributable to this vendor Pento here. And then from there, you can drill down to the transactions as well. So you can see if maybe this is a bill that didn't get posted, or if this is a canceled subscription, or maybe these expenses should actually be capitalized. So you can drill in and apply the appropriate amount of accounting discretion when it's needed, but not need to jump around between screens to find the right information. All right, so that's the month-end review. And so at this point, you've done your bank fee categorization, your account reconciliations, your month-end review, and your client communications. I'm going to show one other part of the standard flow in Double, and then I'm going to transition over to some of our new features for bank feeds, accruals automation, and AI journal entries. So that last piece is reporting. To do that, you toggle over here to our reporting tab, and this will take you to our management report authoring tool, which is a fully customizable, flexible reporting tool that lets you add and remove reports. And I won't go much into what it looks like to edit and manage this reporting tool, but I'll mention one thing about the modules here, which is these are both customizable, but also templatizable. So if you have a standard reporting template that you want to use across all clients, it's really easy to save that as a template and apply it across all clients. And the other thing I will show here is how you deliver those. So you have a few different options for delivery. You can publish them directly into the portal, or you can also email them directly to your clients or print them out, which will download them as PDF and let you do with them what you like. Toggling over here into the portal, I'll show you one, what that static management report looks like, and two, another really nice feature for leveling up beyond just your static financials. So here we can see our report has a cover page, table of contents. You can add custom legal disclaimers here as well if you'd like, or other one-pagers. So I remember Veronica actually inspired the disclaimers capability within the app. There is some nuance around what CPAs are or not allowed to do in disclaimers. I remember this was one of the features that we ended up shipping to support her workflow there with her accounting firm. And after that, we get to some of the really exciting reports here. So this is a customer favorite is the executive summary. This is sort of a one-page overview of what's going on with the client's financials. So you can give them essentially month over month and year over year trends. You can track custom key metrics for them. You can give them kind of a year over year graph. All of this is customizable and flexible, so you can tailor the report for the information that your clients want to see. And then as we continue beyond that, you also have things like metrics packages that you can include in here, your core financials, sliced and diced however you'd like, other management reporting like your AP and AR aging summaries, your cash flow statement. So it can really be a comprehensive package that's ordered the way you want, so that you make sure that your clients get things in the order that they are open to digesting. So that's the static PDF report, but we also have these interactive metrics, P&L, and balance sheet tabs. The metrics is very similar to that metrics package that we saw in the monthly report, but this is a live metrics dashboard that your clients can investigate, so they can drill down into what might actually be, like what might be, how the spend by department breaks up here. So all of this is driven by our metrics product, which is sort of like Excel, directly integrated to your client's QuickBooks data or Xero data. So you can build out these custom metrics and give your clients a much more interactive experience. And then in addition to that, that interactive P&L I was showing earlier is also available to your clients if you want. And in that case, they can do that same level of drilling down to the vendor from the income statement or balance sheet right through the portal as well. So this portal really is designed to be that full-fledged system for everything you need to communicate with your clients. And by giving your clients all of this information in the portal, it's a motivator for them to go to the portal and see all of the things that you're still waiting on them for in the transaction questions. All right. So that's sort of the core flow. That's what we've done in Double for years and years. But now I'd love to show a couple of the new features we've shipped that incorporate AI extensively to help optimize your workflow for both basic clients and complex clients. So we'll start with something that's universally applicable, and that is bank feed categorization. So the core idea behind bank feeds is give you a process that feels familiar, that feels like the way that you're already used to working, but level it up with AI. So reduce the amount of unnecessary clicks, reduce the amount of unnecessary decisions, give you the things that you would already be expecting to do, and then allow you to only take the decisions that you need to make. And so basically the way that we did that is this Double bank feeds. These are their own bank feeds. You connect Double directly to your client's banks rather than connecting them through QuickBooks. And then when you post transactions from here, we post them directly into QuickBooks as well. And some things should be immediately and easily familiar here. So we still have matches, we still have rules, we still have banks or transactions you can categorize or mark as transfers or anything like that. And everything in Double is broken out into these groups so that you can action on the groups in the right order. So here, what we've seen is like typical bookkeeper will go in and approve all the matches, then approve all the things that are rules, and then go make sure that you have taking care of all the transactions or sort of regular recurring transactions, and then go look at the random anomalies. And that's exactly how we've designed the bank feeds to work here. Matches will work very similar to how your matches work in QuickBooks and Xero. You can individually review and match or bulk match transactions. We also put them into these little subgroups here. So we have matches divisible by 100. So there might be like multiple $500 transactions, and you might want to just make sure that those are actually getting matched to the right expense that you'd expect. And then, of course, transactions that have multiple possible matches, we're here. We'll suggest 2 different options and you can pick between them. After you get from your matches, you have your rules. And there's a couple of really nice things in the rules engine in Double that go beyond what you might be doing in QuickBooks or Xero. First thing is your rules are designed to be composable, which means your rules, multiple rules can run on the same transaction. So here, for example, we have this GoDaddy transaction that was spent by Kenny Song. So we can actually have one rule that says, hey, this is GoDaddy. And because it's GoDaddy, it should be software. And then we have another rule that says, hey, because this contains Kenny, the class for this should be engineering. So you can have more complexity in your rules, and all of that runs directly on top of Double. The other really nice thing about our rules engine is it's designed for more advanced and more complex rule-based processing than what you might be doing in Double today. So, for example, we have the ability to say if the statement descriptor that contains GoDaddy and the amount is over a certain amount, categorize it, for example, as a prepaid expense. Otherwise, categorize it to software. So you can build these conditional rules. We also have things like the absolute value of the amount. So you can categorize something, whether it's money in or money out. You also have the ability to do amounts if they're divided by 0 or divided by a certain amount, because maybe it's like if it's exactly $50, you want to categorize it some way. Otherwise, you might want to categorize it another way. So the rules engine itself is designed to be more flexible. And so far, what we've talked about is stuff you can do in QuickBooks, but a little better, a little more convenient, a little bit more organized. Once we get to the auto classifications, that's where AI starts to do the work for you, so that you don't need to be consistently reviewing the AI. And I think the most important thing is that the tool is first and foremost a tool. So it's not like AI trying to jump in and like make a bunch of crazy decisions that you would never make. It fundamentally works the way that you would expect a bank feed tool to work. And the auto classifications are a perfect example of that. So with the auto classifications, essentially what it does is it says, hey, do we recognize this vendor? If yes, is that vendor always categorized the same way every single time? So here we can see Home Depot. We've recognized it. It's always job supplies. We have 200 prior examples for that. Probably the 213th example should also go to job supplies. So that's what auto classifications will do. You can click in on the left and see all of the detailed transaction breakdown. So you can verify if that is in fact the correct vendor. But if it is, you can individually post any transaction here. You can bulk post all the transactions for Home Depot, or you can even bulk classify all of the auto classifications as a whole. Now you'll note we have here, this is our high confidence auto classifications. That's because we also have medium confidence auto classifications. And so here, maybe there was something weird about the statement descriptor, or maybe this is the first time we're seeing it in this account, but we've typically seen spend in another account. And so if that's the case, it will just get bumped down to our medium confidence. It will still make the same prediction here. So we can see Southwest is always travel. So it's still going in as a prediction, but it's medium confidence. So whereas these, you can you can trust the data a little more. These, you might want to just give them a little bit deeper of a look, quick second pass. And then beyond that, we have your for review categories. There are two of these here. First is uncertain. This would be something where you have clients, maybe a client spending on Venmo. You actually don't know that information fundamentally, but you can see here, our AI will suggest different vendors, and it will also suggest how likely it is to be each of those vendors. And so it's like 50% likely to be Steve Johnson, 33% likely to be Jess Howard, 17% to be McCracken and companies. And you can pick on that basis. But if you don't actually have the information, if you need to ask your clients, you can also ask your clients directly here from a Double and either post the transaction and that will put it into the ledger, or you can still leave it sitting in the bank feeds here. And that question will still get posted to the client portal where the clients can go to give you feedback. And once they do, then you can categorize the transaction. So regardless of which way you prefer to do bank feed categorization and client communication, Double's workflow works for you that way. You can also use our communications here, our internal communications. We have a commenting system that runs throughout the application. So you can always just @tag a team member anytime you have a question, and then that will ping them within the app so they can go and you can have a quick conversation about that transaction. And then after your full reviews, the last thing you have is your new vendors. So this is something that we've identified as a vendor we've never seen before. And if we see a vendor we've never seen before, our AI is going to do exactly what you would do, which is Google it, look it up on the internet, and then based on the data that you see from other similar vendors, from your list of accounts in your chart of accounts, make a prediction on how that vendor should be classified. So here we've got Cursor, and if you click over here on the left, you'll see we also give an AI reasoning modal that explains what type of vendor Cursor is, gives you a link so you can click that link and go directly to the vendor's website. And then you can see what our AI determined that vendor to be and why we made that suggestion to be software. So that's the bank feeds. It is a huge improvement over the current status quo of categorizing transactions manually in a giant single table. That's sort of a monolith, and you have to look at each transaction individually. And we see with customers who are using the bank feeds, they're categorizing transactions 50% or more faster than they were in the past. So literally saving half the time they were previously spending on bank feed categorization. And you can do whatever you want with that time, but that's really our mandate here within Double, is to save you time and help you categorize transactions and run your process more efficiently. And I think bank feeds are a great example of that. Okay. So that's bank feeds. We have two more big updates I want to talk about. For that, I will go back to the close page, and that is accruals and our AI journal entries product. So with accruals, our accruals module is designed to encompass any sort of external spreadsheet. If you manage accruals and you have some external spreadsheet of your fixed assets, your prepaid expenses, your deferred revenue, your accrued expenses, anything like that, Double is designed, like Double's accrual system will take all of those in, manage your schedules, and help you automate the posting of any journal entries that go along with that. So we'll start with a simple example. We've got prepaids here. We can see we've got a new LogRocket license. It's a 12-month subscription for $3,000. This is posted into the prepaid expenses account. That's what puts it into this task. And from here, all we need to do to post and recognize that this prepaid expense is to click add to accruals, fill in the information here, or if you set up a preset, just choose the relevant preset. So here we've got annual software expense that will fill the duration out as 12 months. It will fill the expense account as software, and it will fill the convention out as full month. And then from there, you can also come down and see the schedule. So we can see this is going to recognize $250 a month, and we can see the balance remaining diminish over time until 12 months from now. That balance is fully zeroed out. If you click post, that will automatically post all of these transactions directly to the ledger, and it will add that to your accrual schedules that you maintain and can see over on this screen right here. And so if we come over here to our schedules here you can see you can view your schedules by both asset type or by specific source account. So here, if we look at prepaid expenses, we can see there's a difference of $3,000. If we now go ahead and post this account, it's got to take a second here because it's got to post 12 transactions directly to the ledger, but we can see that has now been posted. And if we now refresh our screen, we can see the QuickBooks book value ties out against the schedule. And so it has a $0 difference. So that works for prepaids. That also works for fixed assets, for accrued expenses, or any other workflows that you might have that are related to accruals. We're also rolling out in the next 1 to 2 months features around loan amortization, features around allocations, and other accruals processes. So if you have a question, you think something might be automatable with accruals, it probably either is or is coming soon. So either jump into the chat, or you can always shoot us an email at info@doublehq.com and we can answer your question there. Okay. And the last big upgrade, big new feature I want to talk about is our AI journal entries feature. So that lives in our client uploads inbox. And basically the idea here is if you have, so I'll back up. We have a feature called receipts. That feature will let you, one second. That feature will let you take a sort of standard invoice here and post it as a transaction in your ledger. So it's great if you manage receipts for your clients, or if you manage bill pay. You can use this as sort of the front of house ingestion system for processing all your bills, and that's going to put them in as bills or expenses inside of the ledger. Any transaction type is supported. It doesn't just have to be bills. And so another example we see somewhat commonly is for systems that don't integrate well with QuickBooks. Like you've got some point of sale or invoicing system that your client uses that doesn't integrate well with QuickBooks. You can actually use that system and sort of hack it to pull through Double to automate the posting of those transactions. So for example, if you have an invoicing system and it doesn't have a sync to QuickBooks, but it does have a way of like CCing someone on the invoice, you can, or forwarding someone the invoice, you can forward the document directly into Double and then have it create an invoice from here. And so AI journal entries, or actually we now call it AI transactions, because it goes beyond just journal entries, is a way of doing more complex document processing than just the simple structured reading of an invoice and putting that into detailed transactions. So I'll show one good example of this here. Let's see if we found one here. Okay, so here this is a HUD settlement statement, or a HUD doc, or an ALTA settlement statement, if you're familiar. And basically, if you work with real estate clients, you get these every time someone buys or sells a house. There's not a clear, this is recognized this much in expense and it goes to this vendor. It's a more complicated journal entry that you need to parse out. And so to do that, what you can do in journal entries is you can type in the journal entry prompt here, or use a saved prompt, and then use that to process the transaction. So especially if you have multiple of these complex documents, it can really be a huge time saver. Other things that this might be relevant for are things like payroll journal entries, point of sale journal entries, again, where there's not a good sync to QuickBooks. But so here, for example, we can use an ALTA settlement prompt that we've already written, and you can see what this is doing here. It's saying my client's the seller, create a journal entry with a debit and credit for each line on the seller's side of the journal entry. And then here's how we want you to process it. You can choose models here. We're working on better model routing, so it automatically chooses the right model for your system. And then when we generate this, it will kick off a thinking process. And then when it comes back, it will come back with the full journal entry here. But so I mentioned this is called AI transactions now, not just AI journal entries. And that's because it also applies now to bills. So if you have a complicated itemization process that you wanted to post via a bill, for example, you can also give an AI bill prompt and then have it itemize transactions as well. Okay. I think Veronica, that is going to be where I wrap things up for today's day.
Great. Well, we thank you, Ben. And some of the feedback is like, this is a lot. Like, it's amazing. It's a lot, but really, guys, even the ability to request information from your client, if you only did that, it's worth it. It's a game changer. And then you start adding the other features. And may I say, Ben, that I have tested a lot of different AI platforms recently, and they all feel like it's just like we're forcing you, like you gotta use it. And I really appreciate how you're very thoughtfully bringing in AI features and to where they don't feel like they're like we're being forced to use them. I think they're very, as I said, thoughtfully used and they don't feel overwhelming. They don't feel like, hey, I'm forcing you and it doesn't work. Cause that's some of what I have seen. It's like, oh, the AI just categorized something willy nilly just because. I appreciate that you're showing that, hey, we have high confidence in these transactions. These not so much. These we need more information because the AI really should be telling you that. It can't just categorize things and not tell you that it's not confident. But I'm going to go to the Q&A. So if you have any questions for Ben, please put them in the Q&A. We will answer from that. Let me start with the first one from Corey. Does Double provide setup services and is there a charge for that?
Yeah, great question. We do provide setup services if you work with our CSM team for businesses that have over 10 monthly clients. There is no cost for that setup service.
Great. So no cost if you have more than 10 monthly clients. And of course, you can always contact your support team, get a demo. I mean, they can help you. They're just not going to get it all set up for you unless you have over 10.
Yeah, to be clear on that one, we do have complimentary support. We don't charge for any support or anything. We love talking to our customers. If you have questions, we want to know about them. There is, I think, a really important concept we believe here, which is SaaS, software as a service. Everyone forgets the second S. And that service element is really important. It means we're here to sell you a thing that solves your problem, not just sell you a bundle of software. So if you're confused, if you don't get how it works, write it right in to our support. We're happy to help. We can still hop on calls. We're here to make sure that you get what you want out of our system. It's not just we're trying to sell you some software and run off with your money.
I can attest to that as a former firm owner and user of Double, that Double has always been very responsive to the feedback of their users, to implementing new features. I mean, I would guess, Ben, that these new features that you have shown us are as a result of your users asking for them. You're leading the way. I mean, you're not copying anybody. You're leading the way. You might see others now are copying Double and they're nowhere near the functionality that Double has, but Double is leading the way. Next question from Trish, and this is in regards to the receipt capture. Would it replace HubDoc?
Great question. Yes. Short answer is yes. We have lots of customers who switched off of HubDoc to just using receipts in Double. And not only is it a one-for-one good replacement, but also it's a great way to further improve both your team's experience and your client's experience. So instead of the clients having to remember, hey, go here to upload some documents ready to close, but go here to upload your receipts, they just have the one portal and the one forwarding email. So it feels like a similar experience from HubDoc, but just all put together. And the client and the users on your end, your team now only has one place to check for everything. They don't need to jump back and forth between different systems.
Question from Jenna, and I'm going to kind of make it a little bit broader, is about compatibility or integration with Xero. So of all the things that you showed, so first of all, because someone asked, and it's like this Double integrates with QuickBooks Online and also with Xero. So of the things that you showed us today, is any that maybe don't integrate with Xero yet?
Yeah, great questions. For about the first, call it 30 minutes of the demo, everything I showed is both in QuickBooks and in Xero. The latest functionality, so the receipts management module, the bank feeds, the AI transactions, and the accruals, those are all still QuickBooks only for the time being. We absolutely want to bring those to Xero. Typically, the way that we roll out and release new software is we like to get it live in QuickBooks first, and then once it's in a mature place in QuickBooks, then we can port it to other ledgers. But absolutely, we are committed to supporting Xero, and we love Xero. We think they're great. There are a few incompatible things in their API, and they know what they are. But if you want to hassle your Xero rep,
Call Xero.
I am not above recruiting customers to to get emails sent. So anyways,
All right.
we like Xero, and Xero is very compatible with Double.
And do the rules work with Xero?
So presumably the rules, they're talking about the bank feed rules. So bank feeds is not yet live in Xero with Double. So when we set bank feeds live in Xero, then it will work as well. But yeah, and not live yet.
All right. And there's just a comment about the layered rules, like OMG. They love that. Amanda's asking, will there soon be a fixed asset schedule included in reports now that we have accruals inside Double?
Yeah, this is a great question. And Amanda, would love if you could send me an email after the show so I can drill in on this use case. But yes, now that we have accruals, we are working on how can we make this something that is visible to the clients as well.
Yeah, because when you were showing the accruals, my first comment, being a CPA and former auditor, where are the supporting schedules? So then I was excited that you showed some of that.
All of what I showed can be exported as a CSV. So if you need to give it to a tax account, give it to an auditor, all of that is super easy to get as a package.
A question from Chelsea. How do we access the portal for messaging?
Great question. This was the part of the app that was crashing when I was pulling it up at the beginning. So very unfortunate timely bug. My co-founder just said he did fix it. So maybe I can even show it. But basically, those communication tiles at the top, those all show your questions, the back and forth, and then you can answer them there, and then the clients will see them in the portal.
Great. And question from Christy. So she's asking about the pure bookkeeping bookkeeping system. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, Ben, but it's essentially a system of similar to like the 5MB monthly bookkeeping system. Like they have a system where they have already established workflow. So she's asking, is Double compatible with that system? Can I answer that? So essentially, I mean, if you're asking, can you take some of your quality control or processes that you have in your, say, in the pure bookkeeping system, maybe you've taken my course, the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap, and we use certain monthly bookkeeping or monthly closing checklists. You can take those checklists and then you can add them onto Double. And we did that at my firm. We just took our proprietary checklist, we added that on Double, and then we just went through the checklist in Double. You can definitely add a lot more than Double's already very comprehensive, but you can add even more. Let's see. Bonnie's asking, on the cover page of the financial report, can you customize the title, for example, first quarter, year end, on top of the monthly report?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so Ferdinand was asking about the bank feed capability and asking, doesn't this exist within QBO already?
Yep. So I think you could look at this narrowly, just as talking about the bank feeds. You could look at this broadly about talking about many features within Double. There are definitely pieces of Double that exist today in QuickBooks. And moreover, I would encourage you to try them out and see if you like using them in QuickBooks. I think what you will find is it does not end up being the polished experience that you expect that Double is for both your team and your clients. But certainly I could go point by point, talk about what we do and what they do. But what I would encourage you more than anything else is to just do your own research, try it out, talk to our team. We're always happy to help.
Yeah, try it out. There is a video on my YouTube channel where I tested the bank feeds. I think it's called QBO Bank Feeds Fail. So you kind of know what I thought about it. But I did test it with my own data. It's nowhere near what Double is doing. But I mean, there's some functionality in QBO, but as I said, Double is leading the way. Question from Teresa, can we drill down in the P&L when we click the numbers to see what the total breaks down into?
I think I may have showed this on the demo, but short answer is yes. You can drill down from the P&L to the vendor to the transaction.
Yeah. Let's see. Irina's asking, when categorizing transactions, I see that classes available. Is location, project, products, and service available in Double?
Great question. Location, or the reason you only saw class is it just so happened in the demo file, I only had class enabled. We do support class, location, and customer/projects and billable expenses all natively throughout all product surfaces. We do support products and services in many parts of the app, but not in the bank feeds yet. So we're working on bringing it there as well.
Mary is asking, curious how much adjusting and trial error it would take to make the Alta AI prompt accurate.
Great question. What we have found in our experience is if you treat, I think the sort of right mental frame is to treat the AI journal entries as if it were a smart accountant who you could only talk to over Slack. So I think one of the biggest failure modes that we see when people are trying to use AI journal entries is they'll write a very sparse prompt. So they'll write like, make the right journal entry. And you wouldn't tell this to like a teammate in Slack, like, hey, make this journal entry. You would give your teammate more context. You would say like, hey, this is a journal entry. This is who my client is. This is what they're doing. These are the accounts that we want to categorize transactions to. Use your professional judgment. But this is sort of generally speaking what goes on in that project. If you write a prompt like that, typically the only things that will fail are things that you find out you didn't specify. So for example, you might say like, hey, categorize these, like anytime you see this kind of line, categorize it this way. And you may have 5 bullets there. And you may not know there's just like a 6th line that you didn't include the bullet on. So typically it probably will take like a couple of iterations, maybe 2 or 3 to get that first prompt down. But once you've got it down, you can pretty much just run it on any subsequent transaction and it will get it right every time.
And I think I saw in the double users group on Facebook, that somebody said they did maybe like 100 or so, maybe exaggerating, but it was a very large number of journal entries that they used the AI, and they said it was done in minutes where it used to take hours. Let's see, question from Mary. Okay, so this integrates only with QB and Zero. Looks like you can do that double can do everything you can in QB and more, but it's not a replacement for an accounting software, correct? So let's just answer that one. No, it is not a replace. It's just, and you're working in tandem. Also, there are many other accounting systems out there, Zoho Books, FreshBooks, Wave Accounting, etc., but it only connects with QBO and Zero. Will you be adding other integrations?
Yeah, great question. So today we connect with QBO and Zero. I would say those are our deepest integrations. We have a slightly lighter weight integration with Sage Intacct today that we are planning on investing more in. And we do plan on adding more ledgers as well, although none that I can share at this time.
No, some people, including me, want digits integration. Actually, some people just want you to replace the green, as I like to call it, completely.
No
just
comment on
my
that
2
one.
cents. No, my 2 cents worth. Trish is asking, does the receipt capture also upload the receipt to a Google Drive like HubDoc? Does it have a second repository?
Not currently, although we are working on a better sync to push not only the receipt files, but every file you have in Double to a secondary file location, whether that's Google Drive or OneDrive or SharePoint. So in the works, I think by the end of this year,
Nice.
or early next.
Let's see. Irina, let's see. Any plans in developing Double to handle accounts payable, bill pay with authorization and client approvals?
Yeah, I think we definitely want to support auth approvals. I think it is probably going a little bit outside of our current mandate to try and actually do the bill pay itself. So we would probably work with a bill pay solution like a Bill.com or a Ramp to actually do processing. But if you had that account set up, I think it would be very sensible to have those approvals route through the portal, which is the same place where your clients are communicating for everything else.
And Mary is asking, as far as financials, so we and our clients will always have access to financials forever, ? So as long as they have a subscription, there will be no need for us to send them financial reports?
That is correct. And I think I'll also use this opportunity to talk about forever, because that is a true, that's a true important part of the product. Like every customer lifecycle is going to involve clients that are no longer clients for one reason or another. So we have a whole archiving module built into Double. So if a client leaves, you can basically break the link with QuickBooks, move them into an archived read-only state. And then not only can you access all of your historical records, so all of the client comms, all of the tasks and work you did, all of the files, including your financial reports, but also you're not billed for any of that. So the way our billing model works is it's priced per integrated client. And when you archive a client, breaks the integration, so you're no longer billed for that as well.
Got it. Jacob's asking, if you forward receipts to Double, do they also get uploaded to QBO?
Great question. Yes. So when you forward the receipt, it goes into Double, it goes into the client uploads inbox. And then when you process the receipt and post it, then it pushes it to then it pushes it to QuickBooks. And then it also attaches the file, so the file lives in.
Got it. Liza is asking, is this available internationally?
It is, yes. So we have customers in the UK, Australia, New Zealand. I think those are sort of the prime, Canada, obviously. We do have full official support in all of those countries. If you're not in those countries, the app should still work. I'm not 100% sure how the sales tax works on that side of things. There's the countries where we're registered with federal authorities.
Okay. And Marisol says, so the archive functionality could be seen as a backup. Does Double do, I guess, would serve as a backup for QBO?
Yeah, I would not see it as a full backup system to QBO. So when you're breaking the integration, it's going to show the work that you've done in Double, but it's not going to have like a full record of your transactions that were in the ledger. So you're going to see all your published financials. I wouldn't call that a proper backup system.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for joining us today. I'm so excited about all of the new functionality that Double has. I can tell you that from a year ago when I stopped using Double as an accountant, I'm now a client user and I love it as a client. But when I sold my firm, I stopped using it on the accounting side, and you have done so much. I mean, there's so much new functionality. It's amazing, even in the year since I stopped using it as an accountant user. I'm amazed. And thank you. I think that we have a lot of excitement now around Double. Make sure that you reach out to their team. I do have a link in the chat, pinned to the top of the chat, so you can get a discount using Double if you use my affiliate link. And I think Ben has to catch a plane, so we better let him go.
Veronica, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure here, both the demo today as well as see you as always. And we're always happy to answer any questions about Double if you have them.
Bye, everyone.